Hi mentors, this is Ms. Canales, your Gear Up coach, and this week's lesson is titled California State University Systems. The objective of this week's lessons is that mentors will gain insight on CSU knowledge and the manner in which campuses admit freshman students. Mentors will also learn how admission requirements will be evaluated by the different CSU campuses. Also, just as a refresher, the CSU system is a part of the 4 systems of higher education lesson that we did go over a few weeks ago. Today, we will learn about the CSU and how to become a more prepared and competitive student for the CSU system. And also just as a reminder, by doing these assignments and participating in these assignments, you do get credit for educational preparation program, and you would be able to input Gear Up for that. So now looking at this slide, here are the 23 campuses, the 23 CSU campuses. CSU system admits the top 33% of seniors. They are the largest university system in the country with 23 campuses. And they have more than 1,800 BAs and MA degrees in 300 plus subject areas. Take a second to please look at the map. It's often really important to look at the location of the schools that you're interested in. That way you can have a better idea of match versus fit and can make a better decision in picking a school for yourself. Common myths about the CSU system. A lot of times you hear that the minimum GPA is a 3.0, that CSUs are easy to get to, that UCLA and Dominguez Hills admits everyone. But I would like to clarify that these are all myths. That is not the case, actually. And I hope that you continue watching this video so we can break down some of those myths. So our goal is always to have students try to have a 3.0 minimum CSU GPA. But even if you don't have that as a minimum GPA, doesn't mean that you can't apply to the CSU system. COVID-19 has impacted the requirements for the CSU system. Some of those requirements are that the minimum CSU GPA is now actually at a 2.5. SAT and ACT scores will no longer be an admission requirements for the 2000-2001. These changes will most likely be impacting you your senior year. Lastly, supplemental factors will be an additional requirement that some CSU campuses will ask for, and that's kind of to compensate for the fact that SAT and ACT scores will not be required. We will be discussing more of the additional requirements in a couple minutes. And here in this slide, I'll go over some of the minimum eligibility requirements. So for the CSU minimum eligibility requirements, you do need to be a California resident and graduate from a California high school with a 2.5 or greater A through G GPA. Or if you are a non-California resident, you can have a 3.0 GPA or greater A through G GPA. Campuses decisions to evaluate for admission. So California high school graduates or residents of California earning a GPA between a 2.0 and a 2.49 will be considered to some CSU campuses. Each campus will decide how to evaluate the 2.0 and the 2.49 students, but we recommend students to apply to EOP if your GPA is in that range. You are not eligible for CSUs if you're a California high school graduate or resident of California earning a GPA of 1.99 or below. So that's why it is very important to aim for that 3.0 minimum GPA. This slide is here's the standardized test, ACT, SAT, AP, IB. So for the fall 2021 freshman admissions, standardized testing will not be used to determine your admissions eligibility. SAT, ACT scores will be used for placement in math and English courses by campuses. Students can enter ACT, SAT, AP, IB tests that have been taken or are planned. Um, that being said, it is still really important to take those AP exams and try to pass those AP exams because you can input those scores. And then lastly, if students have no test to report, they can opt out. Usually, first generation students really struggle in this area. SAT and ACTs are oftentimes what holds us back. So it's really, really amazing that the CSU decided to not require SAT or ACT. We really hope that this will allow their students to take advantage of this opportunity and get into CSUs. So now I will be going more into the admissions basics. So just a reminder, the minimum requirement for admissions are high school diploma, A through G requirements of 15 minimum. However, it is highly, highly recommended for students to take from 20 to 25 A through G courses. 2.5 and above minimum CSU GPA, and finding students no longer need to take the SAT or ACT. I know I said that, but I'm going to keep saying it to remind you guys that you guys do not have to take it. And again, take advantage of that opportunity. So the supplemental factors that are now going to be required for CSUs are the extracurricular involvement, the work experience, family income, A through G more than the minimum. So that's just other courses other than A through G. So one of those courses can be advisory. And then involved in educational preparation programs, that is Gear Up. So by doing this assignment, by meeting with me on the one-on-one conversations and being involved in Gear Up, you are able to input Gear Up into that section of the application. And then others, this is, we strongly recommend for each of you guys to continue adding things to your academic resume, because now this is a requirement for the CSUs. Also, just another reminder that the CSU GPA is calculated between the summer after ninth grade and the summer after 11th grade. That's why this year it's really, really important to try to bump up that GPA. It's your last chance to bump up that GPA for your senior applications. However, that also being said, that does not mean that you get to be lazy your senior year. They still look to see how well you performed your senior year as well. Some CSUs do not recalculate a CSU GPA for a small number of freshman applications using the first semester of senior year courses. CSUs will also no longer be using the CSU index to determine your eligibility and admissions decision to their campuses. We strongly, strongly recommend for students to raise their grades and GPA to a 3.0 this year. As mentioned before, supplemental factors will now be a requirement since CSU campuses will not be using SAT and ACT for admissions. So here, CSU index no longer exists. What are supplemental factors? So, no, each CSU campus will have their own way of evaluating supplemental factors. However, they will all include extracurricular involvement, work experience, family income, A through G more than the minimum. Um, Again, just a reminder, an advisory is another an extra course other than A through G. And then involvement in educational prep programs, that would be Gear Up, and then others. So when a campus is impacted, students who apply from areas nearest the campus are given priority admissions. That is really important to know. I'll give you guys a perfect example. I know in Long Beach, they have the Long Beach Promise. So if you actually attend a school in Long Beach, you get priority registration into Cal State Long Beach. And it's similar in LA. A lot of schools have partnerships with UCLA and CSULA, and it can really help those students in those areas. Now, with that being said, Out of these 4 campuses, which one do you think you guys would get considered for local admissions based on your area? So just a reminder that Alliance is located in Watts. Give you guys a second to think about it. So unfortunately, Cal State Long Beach and CSUN would not consider you for local admissions, but Cal State LA and Dominguez Hills would consider you for local admissions. So if you stated CSU LA or CSU DH, you are correct. CSU DH and CSU LA consider students in your school in the local admissions area. In spite of CSU LA being fully impacted, you still have priority at this respective campus. So even though there's a lot of people, they still save a space for you. So that's how special you guys are. Remember that. So this means that next year when you apply to the CSUs, you should have both at least Cal State LA and Dominguez Hills on your application as safe schools.
You've likely heard the term impaction, but what does it mean? Imagine you want to book a flight to Miami. You check the airline's website, but see that the flight is completely full. There aren't any seats left on the plane, and you certainly can't sit in someone's lap, right? The same applies to CSU campuses. If a campus gets more eligible applicants than they have room for, they are considered impacted. An entire degree program at a campus can also be impacted if a major gets more eligible applicants than seats available in the classroom. There are some CSU campuses that are so popular that all majors and all levels are impacted. So what does that mean for you? Understanding the process will help you when it's time to apply. Admission gets more competitive at the impacted campuses. Some campuses will ask for higher standards for admission, like higher GPA scores. Others may give preference to applicants from their local area. For example, the Long Beach Promise gives students in Long Beach preference over students from Northern California. There are still CSU campuses, though, that are not impacted. So what can you do? First, make sure you apply to your local campus. You'll have a better chance of getting accepted to the campus that's closest to you. Also, do your research. Ask yourself which campus you're applying to and what major you're interested in pursuing. Check the campus or the degree program to see if they're impacted. Consider applying to more than one campus. And finally, make sure to do well in your courses and complete the A through G requirements.
All right, so that video is actually really helpful. Just a quick reminder, the 7 campuses that they listed that are fully impacted were CSU LA, Fresno State, Long Beach, Fullerton, San Jose, San Diego State, and San Luis Obispo. So those are the ones that will be a bit more difficult to get into, but CSU LA is going to be a local school for many of you, so please apply to that one as a safety school. Now we'll be going over some scenarios. We'll be going kind of just having some sample students and trying to figure out what is the best way for them to prepare for the CSU admissions process. So here we have Gerald. Gerald, his GPA is a 2.7, which is slightly above the minimum, which is a 2.5. He's taken 24 A through G classes, which is above the minimum, which was 15. He did not take the SAT, but that's okay because it's no longer required. He attends an alliance school, which makes him eligible for a local admissions area at Cal State LA and CSU Dominguez Hills. Now let's take a look at his involvement. As mentioned, supplemental factors will now be a requirement for CSU campuses. So this section is really important. So some things off the bat that I can see that he has Gear Up in the educational preparation program section. I also see that he has a lot of leadership in his involvement. We're also able to see that Gerald was also very consistent in his involvement in these activities. But let's take a deeper look into the academic resume. I know some of you may have already seen this in our one-on-one conversations, but if not, this is what it will look like, and this is what I go through with you guys in your one-on-one conversations. I highly encourage everyone to keep adding into this list. UCs, CSUs, and private colleges will be reviewing this section of your application heavily. If you are thinking about applying to a community college, we still want you to complete this academic resume. That way it can help you with employment and other opportunities at a community college. Now, the following is Jared's list of CSUs that he applied to. So he applied to UCLA, Cal State Long Beach, Dominguez Hills, and CSUN. And as you guys can see, Gerald was admitted to 2 of the 4 CSUs here. So 2 of the 4 are his local admissions areas, which was LA and Dominguez Hills. So match and fit do play a very important role when choosing campuses to apply to. Please be careful in managing your application fee waiver. Just a reminder that the fee waiver covers 4 free applications. Now let's take a look at the 4 other campuses Gerald applied to. So he also applied to East Bay, Fresno State, Stanislaus, and Fullerton. So in total, Gerald applied to 8 campuses besides the CSULB, LA, CSUN, and Dominguez Hills. He was also admitted into East Bay and Stanislaus. This is mostly because they are not impacted. So Gerald was admitted to 2 of the 4 CSUs that he applied to in this slide as well. He was admitted into East Bay, Stanislaus, CSU LA, and Dominguez Hills. And this is mostly because they're not impacted versus on the previous slide, they got admitted into LA and Dominguez Hills because that was their local admissions area. So CSU recommendations: have a well-balanced CSU list at time of application, apply broadly and apply smartly, research the CSUs that you're applying to, represent yourself well on your academic resume, give yourself credit for everything that you do, try to get involved, and submit compelling CSU applications. All right, now for the assignment. So the directions is to choose one CSU, research your CSU, add your research and answers to the questions on the following slides. I will show you those slides in a minute. And add 4 CSUs to your college list in the last slide. And lastly, upload your CSU system assignment into Google Classroom. And I will give you guys a chance to look at what the assignment looks like here. So this is what your assignment will look like. You'll put the name of the CSU and go ahead and answer the following questions. So super simple. If you guys do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me or to your counselor or to your teacher. But preferably if it has to do with these Gear Up coach, the Gear Up assignments, please reach out to your Gear Up coach. All right, thank you everyone.